in the original This Media series, how do you come up with the concept of celestials? So, um, the masks originally came from a scrapped idea from Waterworld. Uh, the original, the original idea behind Waterworld was that um, humans had already colonized the system, and that there were archipelagos and islands on Anukat that humans are now inhabiting. And I think it's going to be um, similar to a surreal broadcast video, like places to go, where not to go, resorts where you can and cannot do, that sort of thing. And there were going to be entities on these islands that had these masks, and well, not maybe they weren't masks, but like an actual like part of their face. But these entities were genetic experimentations by the Hathorians, so that kind of expanded on the experimentation stuff that's into that with Horus and the original Planets video. But they were, I guess they were genetic experiments gone wrong, and they were populating the islands. Orig- um, I scrapped the idea at some point because I felt like it was going too far too fast. Like all of a sudden now humans were colonizing the system, and now there's buildings and whatnot and on these islands. So I just went a bit too far in the future. And also, um, at the time, I was trying to use Wondershare Filmora for editing, but my laptop wasn't strong enough to run it, and it was a mess when editing. So that partially contributed to me scrapping the idea because I couldn't edit it properly. Um, but I still had the masks that um, that were from Artbreeder for that video, and after the Dreamer and the Warden videos established that the planets were alive and that they were sentient and even had personalities, with the Shazmu videos I felt like I wanted to do something more interesting, to kind of expand on it more. And at the time, the original idea for the Celestials was that they were extensions of the planets themselves. They weren't like entities within the planets, but they were um, like a pure like manifestation of the thoughts and emotions. They weren't like independent entities within the planets. I mean, that eventually changed, but they were um, they were like constructs created by the planets that represented their emotions. In Shesmu's case, melancholy, I guess. But I I decided to mess around with the masks in Artbreeder and use them for these constructs. And eventually, when I started using the masks more and I was using these entities more, they became sort of independent entities, like with the society stuff and like the weapons and the hierarchies and the factories and all that. Do you think it's possible that you could disclose details from the original Nepthys Media series and your original plans for it? I would like to know more about stuff like Baphomet and Hathor, considering they're not canon anymore. Um, there were, I mean, a lot of it wasn't really planned. I'd just make videos, like, sorry, I would want to, I'd have like an idea, like, like if I read about asteroid belts that day, I mean, that eventually turned into the Mancipian belt video when I researched and looked into asteroid belts and thought, wow, that's really cool. How about I make a video about that? And that turned into that video. But for certain characters like the fifth brother and some stuff with Helios, there were a few crazy ideas, a few odd ideas, I guess. Like with the Royalty of the Planets video is into that um they had like a religion, like the Great Old One stuff, and that the fifth brother, like kind of like his backstory, like how he disappeared, he was manipulated by their version of a trickster god, so alien Loki, pretty much, and that contributed to him disappearing entirely. So I guess that would have expanded on the uh, that side of the lore, but and Helios also had something to do with it, like he's related to it, like he and like the two had like a partnership, and that so the fifth brother, a lot of it's pretty iffy now, because to be honest, I think I've forgotten a lot of it because I didn't write any of it down, and I haven't really thought about it in a while. But with the fifth brother and Helios, they had like a partnership, and in the end, the fifth brother disappeared, and Helios was incarcerated. I mean, it wasn't really elaborated on in like with the videos at some point because those ideas were scrapped. But actually, I do remember. I remember I was creating some visuals for like the trickster god idea, but I didn't use them in the end. But I also had an idea for how life on Earth is connected to the system somehow, and I had an idea where the fifth brother disappeared from the system, but he somehow ended up in our solar system, ended up on the Earth, and in a community post, by the way. I do remember putting on a community post like what looked like a celestial being Thanos snapped out of existence, like they were just fading away, turning to dust, and that community post was kind of related to the Earth idea. So the fifth brother ended up on Earth. He was dying. He faded away, and then life on Earth happened. Like from the dust, I guess. I guess like when he died, when he turned to dust, it spread around the Earth or something. I don't I don't know. It was a bit goofy, but there were a few crazy ideas, and they were scrapped, like with Helios and the fifth brother. I think Apophis was related to it too somehow, like, um, can't really remember, but I think Apophis had something to do with it too. But with Baphomet and Hathor, I didn't really have any clear idea of where they would go in the story, like their interactions with different characters and their motivation even, or just anything in general. I didn't have any idea, like proper idea for it really. The original masks for the Celestials are still going to be used in the new Planet series, or are you planning on reworking their appearance as a whole? For example, the Mask of Nefertem or Apophis' face reveal are completely different from what was shown in the original series. Um, I think I'm still gonna use some masks for the reboot, but some of them may not have the metallic look. There may be other elements depending on the moon or planet they inhabit. Do you plan to do any thalassophobic content with the theme being an exploration of our world's ocean, basically not any ocean on any fictional planet like you've done previously? In the future, I'm definitely going to be dealing with bodies of water more, whether it's like lakes or oceans, and I may also deal with submechanophobia, a fear of man-made objects submerged in water, because that could be really interesting. In Waterworld, non-canon, at 1 minute 4 seconds, there's speech in the background. Was it relevant / important to the plot? Was it intentional? It has been bugging me for such a long time.
Using the new Arc 93, we can now explore the depths of Anukat, also known as the water world.
Um, at the time of recording that bit, there's a conversation going on in the background, and I couldn't be bothered to remove it because I think at the time I didn't know how, so I just left it in. It was completely unintentional, and it doesn't have any um, relevance to the plot. What video games do you enjoy? Recently I haven't really been playing that many video games. In the past, I used to use a Nintendo Switch a lot, and one game I did play a lot was Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. There was some other stuff too, like Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Super Mario Odyssey, and a lot of other stuff I can't remember. Um, I think I have been thinking about getting back into playing Minecraft, Bedrock Edition, but I haven't got round to doing that. I think the one video game that I have played um, recently was Brawl Stars, but other than that, I don't really play video games that much currently. Do you mind translations of your work? No, um, not at all. People are free to translate all of my videos. I'm completely fine with that. Opinion on Drive 2011. I haven't watched any of them, but I have seen videos talking about that movie in passing. But I've never watched it before, and I don't really know what happens in it. I do know that Ryan Gosling plays the main character, but other than that, I have no idea what the movie's about. You've been using AI in your work before this thing got that much traction, so I'm wondering what's your stance on AI usage in art, considering the current debates around it. So, just as a bit of backstory. I first started using Art Breeder after watching an analog horror video called AMS Therapy, where um, towards the end it showed like a montage of Art Breeder images. I think I need to rewatch that video. I can't exactly remember, but I think they were meant to be something to do with memories. And at the time, I really liked the look of them. I liked how alien and abstract how they looked. So I made an Art Breeder account and I started generating images, which eventually led to the creation of the sea creatures from Waterworld and the masks that had become the masks of the Celestials, amongst other things like landscapes and other stuff. And for art in general, I'm, to be honest, I don't know. I, I'm not, I'm not sure, but I think when for art in general, I'm not sure, but with the analog horror space or the digital horror space, I think that AI generated artwork can have an effect when it generates something that's meant to be explicitly abstract and dreamlike. Um, I think when it's something like that, something that's meant to be really like with the AMS therapy video, where it showed like all sorts of objects merging together and these weird. I mean, they kind of looked like it kind of looked sort of humanoid, but not really. And it worked. It really worked there. But in other cases, with other uses of AI generated art, it kind of falls flat and can actually ruin immersion in some cases. Like, for example, Liminal Land, because that series, I mean, there's also like a website for it and stuff, but that that work um, uses AI generated imagery in a more, I guess, realistic way, where it's meant to be images of a theme park, I think. But it kind of ruins immersion because of the way that the I don't know what AI they used, but the way that the AI generated like the people in the images, like the faces, the looks of their hands, and even stuff in the background, like the theme park attractions. It's, I mean, I guess a point could be made where it's meant to give off like an uncanny feeling, like the way that the faces look, but that there's a point where it just sort of pulls you out of it because the faces just look so AI. Like it immediately tells you that, oh, that's AI generated.